The illusion of happiness marriage to Amanda was my sanctuary, a place where love was constant and unwavering. Or so I believed. We met in college, two idealistic young souls who promised each other forever. For more than a decade, I held on to the belief that we were untouchable. Sure, life had its challenges, work stress, sleepless nights raising our daughter, but we always found a way back to each other. At least, that's what I thought. Looking back, I see the warning signs. The new obsession with her appearance, late nights at work, and the phone always kept face down on the table. But at the time, I chalked it up to stress. We were building a life together. These things were supposed to be normal. What I didn't realize was that the fortress of our love had already been breached. The betrayal didn't come in a single blow, but in a series of tiny cracks that slowly grew until the structure crumbled beneath me. The first clue one evening, after a particularly quiet dinner, Amanda's phone buzzed. Normally, she would ignore it or check briefly before returning to our conversation. This time, she grabbed it quickly, her face tight as she glanced at the screen. When I asked who it was, she muttered something about work and brushed me off. Later that night, when she left her phone unattended, curiosity got the better of me. I hated the feeling, the sneaky, guilty tension as I unlocked her phone using the passcode I knew by heart. What I found wasn't explicit, just a message that read, "Miss you already." It wasn't signed, but it was enough to send my heart racing. Questions swirled. Who could it be? A coworker? A friend? I convinced myself it was innocent, but doubt had been planted. It was a small seed that would grow, fed by every suspicious look, every late night, and every evasive answer. The turning point over the next few weeks, Amanda's behavior became more erratic. She was always glued to her phone, texting someone with a smile she didn't bother to explain. She started working late more often, though her explanations were vague. One evening, I decided to test her. "Let's have dinner out tonight," I suggested, hoping to catch her off guard. Her response was immediate. "I can't. I have a meeting." The excuse seemed flimsy, but I didn't push. Instead, I decided it was time to get answers. I installed a discreet tracking app on her phone, a decision that made me feel dirty and wrong. But the not knowing was worse. It didn't take long for the app to reveal her movements. One night, when she claimed to be working late, the tracker placed her at a boutique hotel across town. My stomach churned. I drove there, parked a block away, and waited, my heart pounding like a drum. Caught in the act, the minutes dragged as I sat in the car, staring at the entrance to the hotel. My mind raced with possibilities. Maybe it was an innocent work gathering. Maybe she was meeting a friend. But deep down, I knew better. When she finally emerged, my worst fears were confirmed. Amanda wasn't alone. She was with a man I didn't recognize, laughing as they walked hand in hand. My breath caught in my throat, a mix of rage and heartbreak surging through me. They lingered at the curb, and he leaned in to kiss her, a tender, intimate gesture that once belonged to me. I wanted to storm out of the car, confront her, demand answers. But I froze, paralyzed by the shock of seeing the life I had built unravel before my eyes. I drove home in a daze, unsure of what to do next. Confronting her felt inevitable, but I needed proof, something irrefutable to end her lies. The confrontation that night, I waited for her to come home, my emotions boiling beneath a calm facade. When she walked through the door, she acted as though nothing was wrong, her smile fake and rehearsed. I couldn't hold it in any longer. "Who were you with tonight?" I asked, my voice trembling despite my effort to stay composed. Her face shifted, confusion quickly replaced by a defensive glare. "What are you talking about?" she said, her tone sharp. I pressed on, laying out what I had seen. At first, she denied it, claiming I was imagining things. But when I mentioned the hotel, her bravado faltered. She shifted to anger, accusing me of invading her privacy. The argument escalated until she finally admitted it. "Fine," she snapped. "Yes, I've been seeing someone else. But I deserve this. I deserve to feel alive again." Her words cut deeper than I thought possible. I had suspected, but hearing it confirmed was a different kind of pain. The divorce Amanda's confession left no room for reconciliation. I couldn't forgive her. Not after the lies, the betrayal, the utter disregard for the life we had built together. The divorce process was swift and cold, each step stripping away another piece of the world I had known. Thankfully, we had a prenup, so I was able to keep the house and custody of our daughter. Still, the emotional toll was staggering. In the weeks that followed, I tried to pick up the pieces of my shattered life. Friends and family offered their support, but nothing could fill the void Amanda had left. I threw myself into work, hoping the distraction would help. For a while it did, but at night, when the house was quiet, the weight of her betrayal would press down on me, suffocating and inescapable. Her return months later, Amanda came back into my life. She was contrite, claiming her relationship with the other man had been a mistake. She said she missed me, missed our family, and wanted to start over. Against my better judgment, I gave her a second chance. For a while, it seemed like things were improving. She was attentive, apologetic, and eager to rebuild the trust she had shattered. I dared to hope that we could find our way back to the love we once had. But trust is a fragile thing, and the cracks in our foundation were too deep to ignore. The late nights resumed, as did the secrecy. This time, I couldn't dismiss the warning signs. When I confronted her again, the truth was even more devastating than before. She wasn't just cheating, she was pregnant, and the child wasn't mine. A final betrayal, Amanda's second betrayal, broke me in ways I didn't think possible. The revelation of her pregnancy was the final straw, a cruel twist that left no room for doubt. I fell into a deep depression, questioning everything, my worth, my ability to trust, even my will to keep going. For weeks, I spiraled, consumed by anger and despair. I thought about ending it all, escaping the pain she had inflicted. But something inside me refused to let her win. I decided I wouldn't be her victim. If Amanda wanted to destroy my life, I would ensure hers fell apart first. I began gathering evidence of her infidelity, meticulously documenting every lie, every betrayal. This time, I wouldn't just walk away. I would make sure she faced the consequences of her actions. Revenge wasn't sweet. It was cold and calculated. I exposed her affair to her employer, ruining her professional reputation. I filed for divorce again, ensuring she got nothing but the bare minimum. I even went public with her betrayal, sharing the story with friends and family. She lost everything: her job, her lover, her standing in the community. Meanwhile, I focused on rebuilding, pouring my energy into my daughter and my career. It wasn't easy, but slowly I began to heal. Amanda's actions had almost destroyed me, but in the end, they revealed my strength. I learned to stand on my own, to find worth in myself rather than in someone else's love. Her betrayal may have broken me, but it didn't define me. Moving forward today, I look back on those years with a mixture of pain and gratitude. Amanda's betrayal was the hardest thing I've ever endured, but it taught me valuable lessons about resilience, trust, and self-worth. I'm not the same person I was before. I'm stronger, wiser, and more cautious. The scars remain, but they are a testament to my survival. Life has a way of breaking us down, but it also gives us the tools to rebuild. And that's what I've done. I've built a new life, one rooted in honesty and strength. Amanda's betrayal didn't destroy me. It set me free. Amanda's second betrayal shattered any remaining illusions I had about who she was or what we had. The revelation of her pregnancy was a storm I hadn't prepared for. Her attempts to justify it were as hollow as her promises of redemption. "It's complicated," she said, her voice trembling, but I wasn't listening anymore. I didn't care about her excuses or her reasons. All I saw was a stranger where my wife once stood. The legal process to finalize our second divorce began swiftly. This time, I was colder, more methodical. There was no space for sorrow or hesitation, just a need to remove her from my life entirely. Yet, the pain lingered, an ache that settled deep in my chest and refused to leave. I tried to focus on my daughter, my anchor in the chaos. Every moment I spent with her reminded me of what mattered, even as the wreckage of my marriage loomed over us. Even as I tried to move forward, a part of me couldn't let go of the anger. Amanda hadn't just betrayed me. She'd humiliated me, stripped me of my dignity. She had acted as if her actions had no consequences, as if I would always be there to pick up the pieces. That illusion had to end. I started small, gathering documents, emails, and texts that painted a clear picture of her duplicity. Amanda had underestimated me, thinking I would simply fade into the background while she built a new life with someone else. She didn't realize that the quiet, trusting man she'd married had been replaced by someone she didn't know, someone who wouldn't forgive or forget. This wasn't just about punishing her. It was about reclaiming the narrative of my own life. I wouldn't let her write the ending to our story. That right was mine alone. The opportunity came sooner than I expected. Amanda's employer was hosting a high-profile corporate event, and I knew she would be there, basking in her new role as a successful professional. With the evidence I had gathered, I anonymously sent a damning dossier to her employer just hours before the event. It contained everything: screenshots of her messages, proof of her inappropriate relationship with a subordinate, and even details of her financial misconduct. I wasn't sure how quickly it would unfold, but I didn't have to wait long. By the time the event was in full swing, whispers began to spread, and Amanda's facade began to crack. She tried to maintain her composure, but the walls were closing in. Watching from a distance, I felt a sense of grim satisfaction. This wasn't petty revenge, it was justice. Amanda had built her new life on lies, and now it was all coming down around her. Amanda lost her job within weeks. The fallout from the scandal was swift and merciless, leaving her reputation in tatters. Her lover, the man she had chosen over our family, distanced himself from her, unwilling to share the burden of her disgrace. Friends and colleagues who once admired her turned their backs, unwilling to be associated with the wreckage. For the first time, Amanda was truly alone, forced to confront the consequences of her actions. I should have felt victorious, but the satisfaction was fleeting. Her destruction didn't erase the pain she had caused, and it didn't rebuild the trust she had broken. Still, I knew I had taken back control, ensuring that she couldn't hurt me or anyone else again. It wasn't about erasing the past. It was about protecting my future. And for the first time in years, I felt like I had a future worth fighting for. With Amanda out of my life for good, I focused on rebuilding. My daughter became my priority, her resilience a constant source of inspiration. She had seen the worst of our family's struggles but had emerged stronger, wiser, and more compassionate. Together, we began creating new traditions, filling the void Amanda had left with laughter and hope. Therapy helped me process the anger and grief, allowing me to let go of the weight I had carried for so long. I started taking risks again, opening myself up to new experiences and connections. It wasn't easy, but each step forward felt like a victory. I wasn't just surviving, I was living. Amanda had tried to destroy me, but in the end, her betrayal became the catalyst for my growth. The scars she left behind would never fully fade, but they were no longer a source of pain. They were a testament to my resilience. Now, years later, I can reflect on that chapter of my life with clarity. Amanda's betrayal was a defining moment, but it didn't define me. It tested me, broke me, and ultimately reshaped me. I learned to value myself in ways I never had before, to set boundaries and demand the respect I deserve. Forgiveness didn't come easily, and maybe it never fully arrived. But I no longer carry the bitterness that once consumed me. Life is too short to be held hostage by the actions of others. Amanda taught me that trust is precious, love is fragile, and healing is possible. She was a storm I never saw coming, but I weathered it, and now I stand stronger than before. My story isn't one of revenge or justice. It's one of survival and redemption. And that, I've realized, is more than enough. In the aftermath of Amanda's betrayal and its fallout, I realized that the hardest part wasn't forgiving her. It was learning to trust myself again. Her actions had shaken the foundation of my confidence, leaving me questioning my own judgment. How had I not seen the signs? How had I allowed someone to manipulate my reality so thoroughly? These questions haunted me in the quiet moments, echoing in the back of my mind. Rebuilding trust in myself wasn't a quick process. I began small, setting goals and achieving them, celebrating even the smallest victories. Every step forward reminded me that I was capable of rebuilding, that Amanda's betrayal wasn't a reflection of my worth. Slowly, I started to believe in my instincts again, finding strength in the clarity that comes from hardship. It wasn't about erasing the past. It was about forging a future where I could trust myself to make better choices. Months turned into years, and I found myself open to the idea of love again. It wasn't something I pursued actively. It came quietly, unexpectedly. Her name was Lauren, a co-worker who had seen me through some of my darkest days. She was kind, patient, and understanding, a steady presence in the chaos of my life. At first, I was hesitant, afraid of repeating the same mistakes. But Lauren wasn't Amanda. She was honest and straightforward, her words carrying none of the hidden agendas I had come to expect. Trust didn't come easily, but it grew slowly, nurtured by her unwavering support. Lauren reminded me that love could be kind, that it didn't have to come with conditions or betrayal. She helped me see that Amanda's actions didn't define all relationships, and for the first time in a long while, I allowed myself to hope. Amanda resurfaced one day, years after our divorce was finalized. Her life had taken a steep downward spiral, and she was desperate. She showed up at my door unannounced, her appearance a stark contrast to the confident, polished woman I had once known. She looked fragile, worn, and for a moment, I almost felt pity. "I've made so many mistakes," she said, her voice trembling. "I just need to talk." I let her in, more out of curiosity than kindness. She apologized, tears streaming down her face, and begged for a chance to reconnect, for the sake of our daughter, she claimed. But I saw through her words. This wasn't about redemption, it was about survival. Amanda wasn't looking for closure. She was looking for a lifeline. I listened, but my resolve didn't waver. I told her the truth. She had made her choices, and I had moved on. Whatever connection we once had was gone, replaced by the clarity of what she had done. That final conversation with Amanda felt like the closing of a chapter. There were no dramatic revelations, no cinematic moments of forgiveness. Just two people facing the wreckage of what had once been a marriage. As she left, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. I wasn't angry anymore, just tired of carrying the burden of our shared history. Closure didn't come with her apology. It came with my acceptance that some things can't be fixed. Amanda's betrayal had reshaped my life, but it didn't define it. I had rebuilt, stronger and wiser, and her actions no longer held power over me. For the first time, I felt truly free. Throughout everything, my daughter remained my anchor. Watching her grow into a strong, compassionate young woman reminded me of what truly mattered. She had seen the worst of her parents' struggles, but had emerged with a wisdom beyond her years. I made it my mission to be the father she deserved, to show her that love doesn't always fail. I wanted her to know that trust and respect are possible, even after betrayal. Together, we created a new life, one filled with laughter, support, and hope. Every milestone she achieved felt like a victory, not just for her, but for both of us. In her success, I found my own, and I knew that despite everything, we would be okay. Looking back now, years after the storm, I can see the lessons hidden within the pain. Amanda's betrayal was a catalyst, forcing me to confront parts of myself I had ignored for too long. It taught me the importance of boundaries, the value of self-respect, and the necessity of letting go. Healing wasn't a straight path. It was messy and nonlinear, filled with setbacks and moments of doubt. But it was worth it. Every scar, every tear, every sleepless night brought me closer to the person I am today. I've learned to forgive myself, if not Amanda, and to find peace in the life I've built. It's not perfect, but it's mine, and that's enough. In the end, the story isn't about Amanda or her betrayal. It's about what came after. It's about resilience, growth, and the power of starting over. I've built a new legacy, one rooted in honesty and strength, and I'm proud of the man I've become. Amanda's choices may have broken me, but they also freed me. They allowed me to rebuild, to find love again, and to create a life worth living. And that, I've realized, is the ultimate revenge, not her destruction, but my survival. Amanda's life had become a shadow of what it once was. The vibrant, ambitious woman who had once been my partner was now unrecognizable, her confidence replaced by desperation. News trickled back to me through mutual acquaintances. She had burned bridges in her career, struggled to find stable work, and alienated many of the friends who once admired her. It was hard to reconcile this broken version of Amanda with the woman who had shattered my heart. A part of me felt vindicated. This was the justice she deserved. But another part felt a flicker of pity. I wouldn't reach out, though. I had learned that some wounds needed to heal on their own, and my involvement in her downfall had already been enough. One day, while running errands, I spotted Amanda in the distance. She was sitting alone at an outdoor cafe, her posture hunched, her hair unkempt. She looked up briefly, and for a moment, our eyes met. I expected anger or bitterness, but all I saw was regret. I turned and walked away, not out of spite, but because there was nothing left to say. That brief encounter stayed with me, though. It reminded me that everyone bears the scars of their choices, visible or not. Amanda had chosen her path, just as I had chosen mine. Our stories were no longer intertwined, and that realization brought me a sense of peace. As Amanda's presence faded from my life, my bond with Lauren grew stronger. She wasn't just my partner. She was my friend, confidant, and anchor. Together, we built a relationship rooted in honesty and mutual respect, something I hadn't fully appreciated before. My daughter adored Lauren, and seeing them interact warmed my heart. Lauren never tried to replace Amanda in my daughter's life. Instead, she became a positive influence, offering guidance without overstepping. It was a delicate balance, but she managed it with grace. For the first time in years, I felt like I had a family again, a family built on trust and love. Despite the happiness I found with Lauren, I couldn't ignore the lingering shadows of my past. There were moments when doubt crept in, whispering that happiness was fleeting, that betrayal could strike again. Lauren sensed this and encouraged me to talk about it. She never dismissed my fears, but reminded me that she wasn't Amanda. Trust, she said, was something we would build together brick by brick. Slowly, her patience and understanding began to chip away at my walls. Each day with Lauren was a reminder that love could heal as much as it could hurt. Months later, Amanda reached out unexpectedly. She sent a letter, handwritten and sincere, asking for a chance to talk. She didn't beg for forgiveness or try to justify her actions. Instead, she acknowledged the pain she had caused and expressed a desire to make amends, if only for the sake of our daughter. I was hesitant, but agreed to meet her in a public place. When we sat down, I saw a woman who had been humbled by life. She spoke softly, her voice laced with regret, and admitted that she had been selfish and reckless. "I just want Sarah to know I'm trying," she said. Her words didn't erase the past, but they opened a door to a tentative truce. Forgiving Amanda wasn't easy, and it didn't happen overnight. It was a process, one that required me to separate who she had been from who she was trying to become. I didn't forgive her for her sake. I did it for mine. Carrying the weight of anger had been exhausting, and letting it go felt like releasing a breath I hadn't realized I'd been holding. Forgiveness didn't mean forgetting or reconciling, but it allowed me to move forward without the burden of resentment. My daughter, Sarah, watched these changes with quiet curiosity. She had been caught in the crossfire of Amanda's actions and my reactions, and I often wondered how it had shaped her. One evening, as we sat together, she asked me, "Do you hate Mom?" The question caught me off guard, but I answered honestly. "I don't hate her," I said. "I hate what she did, but she's still your mom, and I want you to have a relationship with her if that's what you want." Sarah nodded, thoughtful. "I think she's trying," she said. "But I'm glad you're happy now, Dad." Her words stayed with me, a reminder of how much our choices affect the ones we love. Years passed, and life continued to move forward. Sarah's high school graduation was a milestone that brought Amanda and me together in the same room for the first time in years. It was awkward at first, but we managed to find common ground in our shared pride for our daughter. Lauren was by my side, her presence a quiet reassurance. Amanda, to her credit, was gracious and respectful. It wasn't the family reunion I had once envisioned, but it was enough. Seeing Sarah succeed reminded me that, despite everything, we had managed to raise a remarkable young woman. As Sarah went off to college, I found myself navigating the bittersweet emotions of an empty nest. Lauren and I took the opportunity to travel, exploring places I had only dreamed of visiting. Each trip was a reminder of how far I had come, from the broken man Amanda had left behind to someone who had found joy again. On one of our trips, we visited a vineyard, and over a glass of wine, Lauren asked, "Do you ever think about Amanda?" I paused, considering my answer. "Sometimes," I admitted, "but not in the same way. She's a part of my past, but you're my present and my future." Amanda began to rebuild her life in earnest, finding work with a nonprofit and dedicating herself to helping others. It was a far cry from the high-powered corporate world she had once inhabited, but it seemed to suit her. Sarah often shared updates about her mom, and though I kept my distance, I felt a sense of relief knowing Amanda was finding her own path. Her redemption didn't erase the pain she had caused, but it softened the edges, making it easier to coexist peacefully for Sarah's sake. Lauren and I decided to marry in a small, intimate ceremony, surrounded by close friends and family. Sarah stood by my side, her smile radiating joy. As I looked around the room, I felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude for the love I had found, the lessons I had learned, and the resilience that had carried me through. Amanda wasn't there, but I knew she had encouraged Sarah to support me. It was a quiet gesture, but one that spoke volumes. My life had come full circle, and this time, it was built on a foundation that felt unshakable. The weeks following my wedding to Lauren were some of the most peaceful of my life. We settled into a rhythm that felt effortless. Where my relationship with Amanda had been tumultuous and filled with highs and lows, my life with Lauren was steady, like the comforting ebb and flow of the tide. She supported me without reservation, and her love felt like the antidote to years of emotional wounds. My daughter thrived in this new chapter, too. She often joked that Lauren and I were her role models for what love should look like. Those words meant more to me than she would ever know, and I vowed to continue earning her admiration. Despite the distance between us, Amanda's presence in our lives didn't completely fade. Sarah still visited her mother and occasionally shared moments they spent together. It was during one of those visits that Sarah confided in me. "Mom's happier now," she said. "She's even dating someone." Hearing this stirred mixed emotions. I wanted Amanda to find peace, but I also couldn't ignore the memories of her betrayals. Still, I nodded and encouraged Sarah to support her mother. It wasn't easy, but I reminded myself that part of moving forward was letting go of the past. One evening, while sorting through old boxes in the attic, I came across items from my marriage to Amanda. Photo albums, anniversary cards, and keepsakes that chronicled a different life. For a moment, I was tempted to throw them away, but instead, I flipped through the photos. They captured smiles that now felt like lies and moments that had been overshadowed by betrayal. Yet, as I looked closer, I saw more than just heartbreak. Those years had shaped me, taught me resilience, and led me to where I was now. I boxed everything back up and stored it away, not out of bitterness, but as a reminder of how far I had come. Sarah had always been wise beyond her years, but as she matured, her insight into our family dynamic deepened. One day, she asked me, "Do you ever regret forgiving Mom?" The question made me pause. "No," I said after a moment. Forgiving her wasn't about excusing what she did. It was about freeing myself from the anger that was holding me back. Forgiveness doesn't mean I forget, but it means I don't let it control me anymore. Sarah nodded thoughtfully. "I think I understand. I'm glad you found Lauren," she added. Her words filled me with pride and relief, knowing she recognized the value of the life we had built together. Over time, Amanda worked to rebuild her relationship with Sarah. They weren't as close as they had once been, but there was a sincerity in Amanda's efforts that couldn't be ignored. Sarah shared moments of their time together, painting a picture of a woman who was trying to atone for her mistakes. I was glad for their progress, even if it didn't directly involve me. Amanda's growth was her journey, not mine, but I could appreciate the positive impact it had on our daughter. It was a testament to the strength of forgiveness and the resilience of love, even after it had been tested to its limits. Throughout all of this, Lauren remained my steady support. She never pressed for details about Amanda or our past, understanding that some wounds needed to heal in their own time. Instead, she focused on our present, on the life we were building together. Her unwavering patience reminded me daily of why I had chosen her. Love with Lauren wasn't about grand gestures or fleeting passion. It was about trust, partnership, and a quiet understanding that we were in this together. She was the foundation I never knew I needed, and with her I felt truly whole. Amanda's new relationship eventually became a topic of conversation. Sarah told me about him. His name was Greg, and he seemed kind and grounded. "He's good for Mom," Sarah said one afternoon. "They're different together." Hearing this stirred something unexpected in me. Not jealousy, but relief. Amanda had found someone who brought stability to her life. And while it didn't erase the past, it felt like a step in the right direction. I wished them well from afar, content to keep my focus on Lauren and Sarah. One day, I received a letter from Amanda. It was unexpected and deeply personal. In it, she expressed gratitude for the years we had spent together and apologized once more for the pain she had caused. "I'll never be able to undo the damage I did," she wrote. "But I want you to know I respect the life you've built, and I'm glad you found someone who makes you happy." Her words, though bittersweet, felt genuine. I wrote back a simple reply, wishing her peace and happiness. It wasn't closure, but it was a step toward mutual understanding. Amanda's letter stayed with me, not as a source of pain, but as a reminder of the complexity of human relationships. She had made mistakes, unforgivable ones in some ways, but she had also been a part of my life for years. Our marriage, flawed as it was, had given me Sarah and had taught me lessons that shaped the man I was today. While I would never forget the betrayal, I could now view it with a certain detachment. It was a chapter of my life, not the whole story. Sarah graduated from college with honors, an accomplishment that brought Amanda and me together once more. This time, the tension was noticeably absent. We both stood proudly as parents, cheering for our daughter as she walked across the stage. After the ceremony, we even shared a brief conversation, exchanging kind words about Sarah's achievements. It was a moment of quiet reconciliation, a testament to the healing that had taken place over the years. Life had moved on, and so had we. In the years that followed, Amanda continued to rebuild her life, finding fulfillment in her work and her relationship with Greg. She and Sarah grew closer, and while they would never return to the bond they once shared, they found a new dynamic that worked for them. I watched from a distance, content to let her story unfold without interference. Redemption, I realized, was a deeply personal journey, one that Amanda had embraced in her own way. It didn't absolve her of her actions, but it allowed her to move forward with dignity. As Sarah began her own career, I reflected on the journey we had taken together. She had been my anchor through the storm, and I hoped I had been hers. Watching her step into the world as a confident, capable young woman filled me with pride. Fatherhood had been my greatest challenge and my greatest reward, a role that grounded me even in the darkest times. "You've always been my rock," Sarah told me one day. Her words brought tears to my eyes, a reminder that even amid the chaos, I had done something right. Lauren and I often talked about the twists and turns that had brought us together. "If not for Amanda, we might never have found each other," she said one evening. It was a strange thought, but she was right. The pain of my past had led me to a love that was stronger and more authentic than anything I had known before. Life, I realized, was messy and unpredictable, but it had a way of guiding you to where you needed to be. I didn't regret the journey. It had made me who I was. Years later, Sarah got married. Standing beside her as she exchanged vows was one of the proudest moments of my life. Amanda and I both attended, each bringing our respective partners. It was a day filled with love, laughter, and new beginnings. Watching my daughter step into her own life, I felt a sense of completeness. The scars of the past no longer weighed me down. They were a part of me, but they no longer defined me. As the years passed, I found myself reflecting more often on the legacy I wanted to leave behind. It wasn't about wealth or success. It was about the relationships I had nurtured, the love I had given and received. Amanda's betrayal had been a turning point, but it had also been the start of a new chapter. Through the pain, I had found strength, resilience, and a deeper understanding of what truly mattered. My legacy, I realized, was one of love, not perfect or unbroken, but real and enduring. Sitting on the porch with Lauren one evening, I looked out at the sunset and felt a profound sense of peace. The journey hadn't been easy, but it had been worth it. I had survived betrayal, rebuilt my life, and found love again. As Lauren reached for my hand, I smiled, knowing that the scars of the past had led me to a future I could cherish. Life was imperfect, unpredictable, and beautiful. And in that moment, I knew I was exactly where I was meant to be. Thank you for watching the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss interesting life stories, and write a comment if you like the story. See you.